as the college basketball season continues to heat up, we're heading down to Fairfield with probably one of the hottest teams in the state right now with Coach Thibault-DuDonis over at Fairfield. So, Coach, thanks for hopping on today.
Oh, thanks for covering us. I appreciate you.
Yeah, so I want to start. When it comes to college basketball, I feel like when you talk about players, year one to year two is always the biggest jump, and you can really see that growth in the players. So I want to throw it back at your way now from a coaching perspective. You go through year one last year into year two this year. What's that jump been like for you?
Oh, it's been a blast. I mean, I had a great time with last year's team. We got to inherit a great group of women, a lot of whom which were on a championship team, and I was one of the lucky ones. You don't always get to do that when you take over a program. And then we graduated four seniors and had a lot of holes to fill, not only from last year's team but from Lou graduating and going to UConn the year before. And so we went to work recruiting, and this was a great place to recruit to. I feel like we have all the tools to bring in the right people, the right students. And we were able to bring in seven really high quality transfers and freshmen that immediately added to our culture, the way we want to play. And so it's been really fun to kind of see it all come together pretty quickly, to be honest.
Yeah, no, for sure. Going from that year one into this year, what's the biggest lesson you learned as a first time head coach last year that you think has made you a better coach this season?
I think honestly, I don't know if there's one thing I could point to other than, we took the time as a coaching staff this off season to assess the players that we had coming in, where we needed to be more efficient, because we knew we had to take big steps forward offensively. So we were able to kind of put our minds together and develop a motion and an offensive system that would allow this team to thrive. And so I think we were able to kind of take last year's team, take what we knew about our conference, what it takes to win in this conference, and really fine tune our offense, change, open things up, kind of scrap a little bit of what we did last year to be a better offensive team. And I think that's paid dividends for us, as a whole.
So you look at your record right now, 14-1. The one loss, a close one at Vanderbilt, but you followed that up with a win at Rutgers next game. You've beaten St. John's, you've beaten Fordham. When did you start to think that this team could be playing at the level that it's playing at?
We had inklings of it early on. I would say even back to summer, people would ask how summer workouts going, and had to tell our staff like we were really excited about the group, and I was like, we need to be cautiously optimistic until we play anybody else. We don't know what it's
Yeah.
going to look like, but we felt we had a good feeling early on, and then I think one of the more special moments was actually in that Vanderbilt game. We had to come back in the fourth quarter to make that a game, but we had an opportunity to win that game. And I was proud of our fight and our willingness to not quit, to not give in, to face a little bit of adversity and keep throwing some punches.
Yeah.
And so in that locker room, what I thought was so cool is that we weren't the team wasn't satisfied. You can get into those moments and be like, yeah, we're right there. That's an awesome, and they didn't want a moral victory, which I
Yeah.
love. And I think there's a huge reason why, a week later we were able to kind of take some of the lessons. There's a ton of things that we didn't play well in that Vanderbilt game, and our team kind of took that to heart and worked on them and improved in all the areas that we struggled against Vanderbilt, and we're able to beat Rutgers because of it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, how do you play a tough, close game to Vanderbilt there, and then you've got another tough, power conference opponent in your next game. How do you keep the team motivated to not get down on that close loss? And it seems like they almost did that themselves.
Yeah, I mean they were hungry. They knew that was right there for the taking. And they know. I mean, we know how special this group is, but they know too. They've played basketball their entire lives, and you don't always get a team like this. Not only on the court, but how they take care of each other, how they care about one another, how there's no drama within them. Like you just don't get that very often. And so they know how special this group is. And that week of practice was really focused in the areas we needed to be better in, particularly in rebounding, taking care of the ball, fouling a little less. And I thought, in every one of those categories, we made huge strides against Rutgers.
As you start racking up those wins in the non-conference season against some of those, conferences that are, a little bit ahead of, what the MAC and, what people think, what lessons do you take away from those games that you apply and say, hey, this is, what we did now, at that point, and now we're going to apply that to MAC conference and, head towards your goals of winning the MAC.
Each team we played, I shout out to Coach Blake on my staff. He does our scheduling. prepared us in a different way. All those teams play a different style. Rutgers and St. John's play very different than Fordham and Sacred Heart and such. So there's a lot of different styles that we were preparing for. And in each of those games, we did, enough right to win those games, some by bigger margins, some by smaller margins. But there's something in almost every game that we've been able to point to and say, hey, we need to get better in this area. And so it's that balance of, okay, this is what we're doing well. We need to keep this going in the right direction, but also taking 2, 3, 1, 4, whatever it may be, things to as a takeaway that we know we can get better in. And in those early games, we learned a lot about ourselves, and I think it allowed us going into MAC play to be ready for a lot of different styles of play that you see in our conference.
I feel like conference play is the time of year where people who may not have watched during the non-conference really start to tune in and get their college basketball fill before you head into the tournament and all. So do you mind just breaking down your roster a little bit in terms of people who might not have watched a ton of Fairfield basketball this year, in terms of some players that they should be keeping their eyes on?
Absolutely. I mean, we have a really deep roster, and that's something. It depends on how much time you have, because I could go on for days about this roster. We have a ton of depth, and that allows us to play at the pace that we do, because you might see one, maybe two players play over 30 minutes a game, and you're not talking 37, 38 minutes.
Yeah.
So we play a really deep roster. We've started 9 different players throughout the course of the season so far. And that's just a testament to matchups. And, early on, like you mentioned, there's some different games that we're going to play, maybe some up level games that we were able to tinker our starting lineup based on size and
Mhm.
rebounding or defensive needs or whatever it may be. But I would be remiss if I didn't start talking about Nelly and Meg Anderson. Those two have already, obviously gotten conference awards and player of the week awards. Meg's at, I think, 8 rookie of the
Yeah.
week awards now. And those two are kind of a two-headed monster, in that Nelly can go for days and get downhill and is unbelievably hard to keep in front. And Meg is just really consistent in her versatility and in her ability to score the ball. She can shoot from 3, she can go off the bounce, she can score in the post, she runs the floor, she blocks shots. I mean, she just does a little bit of everything and at a really high rate. And so those two have been really consistent, all year long. And then you could point to a number of other people, and I don't even want to go too far, because I'm going to miss somebody. But I think Isa has done a great job off the bench the last few games for us. She started some games, come off the bench, but she can truly play 1 through 4. She's had, in the last 2 games alone, she had 17 assists to 2 turnovers.
Yeah.
She's taking care of the ball. She's facilitating. She's scoring when it's necessary. She's just got a really good ability to create for a lot of great players around her. But you look at freshmen like Katie Lamro, she's done a great job she's a solid defender, can defend, in the perimeter as well as anybody, scores. You look at Amina Selimovic inside, she's scored at a really high rate. Kendall Magruder is an unbelievable high IQ, can score, can defend, takes charges every game. I can keep going down the line, but our depth has really allowed us to do what we've done.
I'm going to take a quick break from the interview to tell you about my friends at Martin Rosol's Meats. This 4th-generation Connecticut family business produces kielbasa, hot dogs, sausages, and deli meats using Martin Rosol's very own original recipes. Their products can be found in grocery stores, delis, restaurants, and hot dog stands throughout the state. And if you're looking for your fill right away, check out their retail store in New Britain. For more information, visit martinroselsinc.com and go support a UConn fan-owned business. And now, back to the interview.
You talk about Meg Anderson. I just want to talk about her quickly.
Yeah.
You mentioned all the accolades she's won. I mean, I feel like it's so rare you see a player come in basically sweep the rookie of the week awards as they keep coming out. How impressed are you by what she's been able to do and play at such a high level as a freshman? Because usually there's that time to adjust to the college level game, and it seems like it's just been kind of smooth sailing out of the gate.
Yeah, I'm impressed, but I'm not surprised, to be honest. She's been like that since day one. I mean, watching her even in high school and AAU, she was a monster. And she knew her fit was going to be maybe a little bit smaller environment. There's no doubt in my mind she could play at a Power 5 school. But she knew this was a fit for her. And what I think I would say I'm most impressed by is her poise. She doesn't get sped up. She doesn't play at anybody else's pace but her own. And she just is able to kind of keep doing her things regardless of what people throw at her, whether they throw a really quick guard on her or a really long post on her. She kind of continues to find a way. And she'll be the first to give her teammates credit for finding her on the move, and the ball keeps moving and it finds her way back to her for great moments to score.
So as you've been through these first, 15 games here, and you look towards the second half of the season here, if you all want to accomplish your goal of winning that MAC, both regular season, postseason, conference, championship, what do you think are some of the keys you're looking at this point in the season to stay on track and meet those goals?
Consistency in our habits. I think for us, we know that if we play well, we can compete and win, any game. But we also know that a target's on our back. Our league is really good. Coaching in this league is really good. And so you relax for one moment and you drop one. And so for us, it's showing up every day with that consistency and knowing the importance of the little things. Like from the outside looking in, someone might say, oh, you won by a margin of 20 points per game, and this is easy. And our kids will, our women will be the first to tell you it's not been easy. And so kind of keeping that mindset that you're not just going to be able to show up and win. We've worked for it in every practice and every, shoot around leading up. And so for us, it's being our best version. And when I talk about some of those habits, it's some of our defensive habits that are able to lead to some of the kind of explosive offensive nights that we've had. We've gotten stops and ran. It's guarding the ball without fouling. It's jumping to the basketball and getting to midline and having backside help that then leads to sprinting every single time and playing together. And those little things make a huge difference.
Yeah, when you look at it, and I'm curious just to dive into like the mentality of the locker room a little bit. The team's 14-1 winning has been consistent for you. How do you keep that team motivated and hungry and not kind of let up, kind of in the doldrums of late January a little bit?
Sure. Well, there's a couple things with that. First of all, my staff's excellent. And there's a ton of things that we know that we can continue to get better in. And so really, lighting that fire of showing ways that we're not arrived. We have a lot of things we can continue to get better in. And our end goal, we're still far away from. We're still far away from winning that MAC. From at the end of the day, this team wants to win a game in postseason, win multiple games in postseason. And so we're far away, and we still have a long ways to go. But as I mentioned depth earlier, one of the beauty and one of the beautiful things about that is that if you do slack off, if you have a couple bad practices, you take some time off, you don't come to go every day. Like there's a lot of women on our team that are hungry and working for those minutes in that spot in a really awesome, healthy way. And so you can't take a day off because there's somebody else that's really good on our roster that will take those minutes.
I'm curious to get your thoughts because we heard earlier this week over at UConn from Dan Hurley as his team was getting votes to be the #1 ranked team in the country and what that meant to him. What would it mean to you at Fairfield? I know you've started to get some votes in that top 25 poll. What would it mean to see that Fairfield program ranked?
I mean, it would be awesome. It's something that, to be honest, when I took this job, I wanted to make this a powerhouse mid-major program. And that starts at the top with our, administration and how much they believe in women's sports and women's basketball in particular. And to be honest, it would be a little ahead of schedule, but that's what we came here to do. We came here to bring really special women and to do something that hasn't been done here before. So it would mean a lot, not only to us, to our athletic department, to our university, and just to be able to highlight an amazing university in the best way possible.
I'll get you out with letting you highlight that university between both your team and then the men's basketball team right now. Things are off to a pretty good start in the MAC there. So how good are things at Fairfield right now?
Oh, it's been a blast. I mean, and everybody supports one another here, which has been so much fun. I've obviously been here 2 years now, but that's one of the things that I loved in the hiring process as I learned more and more about the university. Is not only is it a great school that's got a rising stock in a way that it's a great education. We're now nationally ranked, as far as our school and our academics, but we're on the map from a basketball standpoint. We have a brand new arena. But what I loved is the people, to be honest. I loved that our women's sports programs, coaches have been here for 8, 10, 25, 27 years, and that it was a place that I could go and make a home. And for me, the people really make the place. And so I love that our athletic director, really cares and pours into women's sports. He's got a daughter that shows up is at practice and at every game and comes to camp. And, I love that it's a family feel. You don't always get that nowadays with college athletics. It's, it can be a business and transactional, and it's the furthest thing from that here.
That's great to hear. Well, Coach, I really appreciate you taking some time. I know it's always tough during conference play, so I really appreciate it. And best of luck to you and your team the rest of the season. Look forward to seeing you guys keep this up.
We appreciate you covering us. Truly, it means a lot when we have great people covering, our
Oh,
game.
thanks.
And women's basketball needs good people like you.
Oh, thanks. Happy to do it. Best of luck.
Thank you.